Water droplets the size of beans fall from the leaves above me in a steady rhythm, and the sound of that dripping is the first thing that reaches me as I struggle to open my eyes. Everywhere in my body there is pain, a dull and insistent ache, and when my vision finally clears, I find myself surrounded by a sea of blood-red light that makes my whole frame tremble. The plants here are as tall as giant trees. The water drops falling from overhead look larger than my own head, and near me there are eggshells clinging with crimson blood vessels, while the air hangs thick with a pungent, fishy smell. I have never imagined that such a bizarre place could exist in this world, and for a long moment the shock presses me flat against the ground. After the first wave of shock passes, I force myself to calm down and let the memories rise. That day it seems I had organized my company employees to go abroad for a vacation by plane, and then we encountered a storm and the plane gradually spiraled out of control. My most trusted assistant, at the moment of the impending crash, handed me a parachute, opened the emergency exit, and jumped out, and after that my mind went completely blank. So it seems that after the crash I am still alive, I think to myself, and a sudden inexplicable sorrow presses against my chest as the names of my people drift up one by one. Juhwan, Songsik, Songwook, Yol, Songyun, none of you must get hurt, I murmur. All of you have to stay alive, and even as I speak I realize the sound leaving me is not human speech at all but a thin hissing from somewhere inside my throat. A bad premonition spreads through me at that sound, and I force my body to move and look down. In the next second I freeze, my eyes filling with shock, because what I see below is a patterned body covered in bloodstains, and a long tail twitching against the ground. This is my body, I growl low inside my own head, unable to accept that the frame I am wearing now is a snake's. Then a rustling comes from beside me, and when I turn my head a behemoth has quietly appeared, a massive python flicking a crimson tongue, a frame at least 100 times larger than mine, its blood-red eyes cold enough to swallow everything in existence. For a moment I fall into despair, certain that after dying once I am about to die again. But the monster does not attack. Instead, when it approaches me, its terrifying aura softens into something almost warm, and then it opens its blood-red, foul-smelling mouth and slowly spits out a silver-white pearl the size of 10 of my bodies. As the pearl rolls to rest beside me, an unprecedented hunger takes hold, and my stomach begins to growl loudly as if it has a will of its own. Instinct tells me that this pearl can be eaten directly, while reason insists that if I try to swallow something so huge I will burst open from the inside. The giant monster watches me for only a moment longer, then slips away into the forest, leaving a crimson blood stain on the ground where it lay. Staring after it, I finally put together what has happened, that I am still alive but reborn as a snake, that this is a completely strange island where the eggshells around me mean I have only just hatched, and that the giant monster that left me the pearl was very likely my mother. These truths are difficult to accept, because in my previous life I was the owner of a famous domestic group whose every word and decision could affect tens of thousands of people, and now being reduced to a newborn snake feels like a cruel, elaborate joke. The hunger keeps growing, and for a while I stay coiled in place and lose track of time, until finally my body's instinct overcomes what is left of my reason, and I open my mouth wide and bite down on the silver-white pearl. I had thought it would be hard, but the first bite sinks into something soft, and a surge of scorching energy immediately pours through my mouth and spreads through the whole of my body, a wave of delicious, almost cheering warmth that feels as if every cell in me is singing at once. 1 bite, 2 bites, 3, and in less than 3 minutes half of the pearl is gone, and with every mouthful my body grows at a visible rate, so that by the time I finish the last piece my 30-centimeter frame has stretched past 1 meter and thickened 5-fold. I feel so full that power seems to overflow from my scales, and I lie there and let out a satisfied burp, although the sound that actually reaches me is the hissing of a snake flicking its tongue. Just as I am about to rest, a strange voice rings in my ears, congratulating me for consuming a spirit pearl and activating an infinite evolution system, explaining that as long as I continue to hunt more powerful creatures, I will one day become the true dragon that soars through the 9 heavens. I hear the words with absolute clarity and know at once that this is neither hallucination nor dream, and before I can even finish processing the thought, a clear image surfaces in front of my eyes, recording all of my own information as if it had been waiting for me to arrive. The canopy above is a wall of giant plants and giant trees, the cries of wild beasts rising and falling from time to time, a vibrant rainbow hanging in the distant sky, where a heavy rain has only just finished falling. Birds streak past overhead, and reptiles occasionally slide past in the leaf litter, but I have no attention to spare for any of it. Coiled in a snake nest between the tree trunks, I widen my eyes and stare at the fluorescent screen hovering before me, which lays out my identity line by line. The infinite evolution system calling me Yejin, a juvenile blood python under a year old with a lifespan of 10 years. Evolution points at 1 out of 1,000. Level 1, snake language, no abilities, no apostles, no territory, and a mission telling me that as host I must undergo the next stage of evolution as quickly as possible in order to gain the ability to protect myself. A starter gift pack is offered, and the words are too clear for my heart not to turn over inside me. Because becoming a snake is one thing, but a snake carrying a high-tech product like a system is another thing entirely. In the end, I force myself calm, because things have already gone this far and surviving in this forest is more important than wondering how. At the very least, there might yet be a chance, far down the road, to become the legendary true dragon transformed back into human form and return to the human world. When I ask the system how to claim the gift, Packet's voice replies in a somewhat mechanical tone that I need only say the words, and when I do, a yellow bronze chest appears on the fluorescent screen, slowly opens, and reveals 2 sharp fangs. The system explains with an almost humorous dignity that I have obtained a pair of cobra poison fangs, and that as a python aiming to become a true dragon, a python without a proper set of teeth is no better than a salted fish. I tell it without hesitation to equip them, and the next moment 2 fangs filled with venom appear inside my mouth and fuse completely with my body, and I realize that with a single thought I can control the release of the poison through them, so that even an elephant would be paralyzed by a single bite. Feeling that survival may not be so impossible after all, I ask how to obtain evolution points, and the system answers that points are determined by the strength of the creatures I devour, that the stronger the life form the more points I gain, and that my body has been modified so that I can devour infinitely without any risk of bursting. This news lights up my mind, because if the system is telling the truth, I need only keep eating, hunting stronger and stronger creatures, and one day I will evolve into a true dragon and stand as a human again. A brief pang of resistance follows because I am a man inside a snake, and eating living creatures feels repulsive. Yet 10 minutes later, an appetizing aroma drifts through my nostrils and the hunger inside me rumbles back to life, pulling me out of the nest and along a tree trunk toward the scent almost without my permission. 3 minutes of climbing brings me to a huge intertwined tree where I find a bird's nest built of dead branches, and inside that nest lie 15 bird eggs the size of a human fist. My conflicted mood flips in an instant into excited, fiery hunger, and I stretch my head into the nest and crush the first egg with a single bite, the warm yolk splattering and its rich aroma leaving me comfortable all over, while the system's voice rings out to congratulate me for devouring a black eagle egg and granting 10 evolution points. I do not notice, as I lock my cold gaze on the second egg, that not far above the nest, a black eagle with a cold, piercing gaze is already flapping its wings and diving toward me at an incredible speed. The eggs crunch softly between my fangs, and perhaps because of the blood python's sense of taste, the flavor spreads through me like a warm stream of energy, spilling through my body as quickly as I can swallow. The system assures me that my stomach can hold all 15 without complaint, and though psychologically the whole experience still feels too bloody and too cruel, after the second and the 5th egg I lose any real capacity to slow down, opening my mouth wide and swallowing the last 10 whole. My evolution points climb to 150, and I realize I need another 850 before I can evolve, which seems slow, so I ask whether there is a faster way. The system answers that 1 egg is 10 points, that 100 eggs would complete the first evolution, and that if I want more speed I must seek out powerful creatures to devour. And I concede the point, reminding myself that eating is something to be done slowly. Just as I am about to look for more food, a piercing eagle cry reaches my mind, and I look up instinctively. A huge male eagle is diving straight down, its frame piercing the sky and blocking out the clouds, its wings brushing rustling sounds out of the leaves. The eggs I have just eaten must have been his, and eagles are the natural enemies of snakes, which means I have neither the luxury of running nor a reasonable chance of hiding. My pupils constrict and a sense of crisis shivers through my body, and it is only when the system's voice tells me that I must kill him, that devouring this eagle will complete the first step of evolution, that the shiver turns into something else. A massive desire to survive boils up in me. I have only just been reborn, and I refuse to die again, and I refuse even more to be torn apart by a bird. So I force myself calm and remind myself that I have the cobra poison fangs and that 1 successful bite will be enough. Come on then, I murmur. Let me have a full meal. And although my body is only a little over a meter long, the sight of those exposed fangs would still be enough to make most things reconsider. The male eagle, however, is not most things, and its pitch-black sharp claws continue their dive straight for the middle of my body, closing the distance to 10 meters, to 5 to 1, until it is no longer clear whether the eagle is hunting me or whether I am hunting the eagle. At the last instant, I twist my body into an S shape, and my poison fangs bite into the eagle's thigh, even as its talons close around me and a piercing pain spreads through my body. We have bitten each other, and as the blood begins to flow, I focus all my will on injecting the toxin as fast as I can. Cobra's venom is potent enough to kill a human in 3 seconds, and the eagle's own struggling only spreads it faster through its veins, so that within 2 seconds it collapses weakly in the nest with wings twitching, no longer able to do me any harm. Overjoyed, I watch it stop struggling, and then the hunger returns and drowns the pain so completely that I can barely remember being hurt. Eating this eagle will complete my next stage of evolution, the voice in my mind says. And after only a second or two of hesitation, my body's instinct overcomes reason again. And I open my mouth wide, tear at the eagle with my fangs, and then simply swallow it. Warm blood, soft flesh, and as it spreads through me, I am shocked to see the scratches on my body healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, while my snake skin thickens and my length and girth rapidly grow. By the time the entire eagle is gone, my body is stretched to about 1.5 meters, my thickness to about 10 centimeters. And the strength inside me has increased more than tenfold, so that if another eagle were to come now, I would be sure of a clean kill. The system congratulates me for devouring the male eagle and awards me a full 1,000 evolution points, then asks whether I wish to initiate the first stage of evolution, and with the answer already boiling inside me, I tell it yes at once. Sunlight pours through the gaps in the leaves and falls upon my blood python body as a warm current suddenly envelops me, a sensation even more comfortable than the spirit pearl earlier. Every cell in me cheers, scorching energy surges wildly, and my mental power and eyesight sharpen to an unprecedented level, so that coiled in the nest I can see an ant crawling on a great tree 200 meters away. Around me, birds take flight at intervals, and the creatures of this island turn their heads instinctively toward me for just a moment before returning to their routines, as though something inside them has noticed a new shape they cannot quite identify. My body lengthens quickly, from 1.5 meters to 2 to 3, the chaotic blood-stained markings on my scales taking on a cleaner, almost artistic quality, and a layer of white snakeskin 1/2 centimeter thick sheds from my frame while my bones crackle without pain. After about an hour, a full cast-off skin lies beside me and I coil in the nest at my new size, with 2/3 of my body wrapped around the tree trunk, marveling so much at becoming stronger that I nearly forget to ask the obvious question. When I do ask the system what abilities I now have, the fluorescent screen lights up again and tells me I am still a blood python, still level 1, with 250 evolution points accumulated out of 5,000 needed for the next stage, now carrying poison fangs as an ability, and still without apostles or territory. The mission it shows me is that the first stage strengthening of my body is complete, and that next is the second stage evolution and the expansion of territory, after which I will become a Titanoboa, with the entire island laid out as my planned domain. For a moment I am disappointed, because what has just happened is apparently only the beginning, but then a second excitement crowds the disappointment aside. This is only the first evolution, and my body has already grown to 3 meters and 15 centimeters thick, so if I keep going there may come a day when I stretch past 1,000 meters and no creature on Earth can stop me. I ask what a territory is, and the system explains that as host of the infinite evolution system I naturally need my own domain. That a territory is a place ruled by the host, that once I make all the creatures in it submit or eliminate them, I will possess territorial rights, and that inside my own territory I can ignore distance and obstacles, see and hear the thoughts of other creatures, communicate with them, and even regulate nature itself to a certain extent. The coldness in the system's voice only makes the claim more striking, because if this is true, and if one day the entire Earth were to become my territory, then nothing on Earth could be hidden from me and I could control the weather at will, which to put it plainly would make me a god. When I ask whether there is a time limit, the system answers that there is none, but hints with practiced temptation that the sooner I rule this island, the greater the rewards. And when I press for examples, it only tells me, with a kind of deliberate mischief, that the specifics are confidential. Unable to pry more out of it, I decide that I will conquer this island as quickly as I can, and I climb toward the top of the tree to see what I am up against. My new strength makes twisting up the trunk easy even where the wood is thin, and within a few minutes I reach the crown and look out over the endless forest, the azure ocean beyond it, the white clouds hanging like cotton candy over a world that has only just been washed by rain. It is a beautiful scene, I tell myself, but before long this place will become my territory, and the sensation in me at that moment is more stimulating than any expansion of my old business empire ever was. Just as I finish the thought, a black-hued shadow streaks toward me over the horizon, carrying terrifying killing intent, and when I look again, my new eyesight is already telling me that this is the male eagle's mate, twice as large as the first, wings so vast that when they spread the sky itself seems to darken. I feel no fear at all because eating the first eagle gave me 1,000 evolution points, and 5 of these would carry me into the next stage with points to spare, and I am confident that if it closes with me, my poison fangs will end the fight quickly. The giant eagle charges rapidly, 100 meters, 50 meters. But when it closes to less than 10, I see that its talons are not aimed at me at all. They are aimed at the trunk I am coiled around, which means it plans to snap the branch and drop me to my death. The thought is terrifying for an instant and then meaningless, because as far as I am concerned, the eagle is already my prey, and any creature that dares to close with me now will simply die. The wings roar past, air whistling under their edge, and the eagle's body slams into the trunk with a crash that splits the wood in two. But as the trunk breaks, I slap my tail hard against it and launch myself upward with the explosive force, so that a moment later my entire body lands cleanly on the eagle's back. I wrap around it at once, leaving its wings free to move, and the eagle, realizing too late that it has become the mount of its own killer, tries to climb higher out of a pure desire for revenge. Its wings beat against the leaves, and the wind rushes in my ears, and at the moment its altitude is greatest, I exert sudden force and drag it downward, opening my mouth and burying my poison fangs mercilessly into the base of its neck. The toxin spreads faster now that my body has evolved, and within 2 seconds its strength fails and it begins to plummet toward the island, with me coiled tightly around it to let its own body serve as a cushion against the branches below. The branches buffer some of the fall, and the eagle's body absorbs the rest, so that when we crash to the ground, I only feel my body jolt violently and then go numb, while the eagle ends up smashed into a pool of blood beneath me. My bones feel as though they have shattered, but the sight of fresh blood and the carcass of the eagle wakes my stomach again, and I can barely hold back long enough to ask whether eating restores me, which the system confirms, explaining that unless I take a fatal injury, devouring will cure my body quickly as a gift from the system. With that assurance, I bite into the eagle and swallow piece after piece, and as its meat spreads through me, the agony fades. 10 minutes later, I have swallowed it whole, gained another 1,000 evolution points, and watched my physical fitness improve again, though my length and girth stay the same. Lying on the ground fully healed, I admire the crime scene that is now only a pool of blood, and a rustling behind me snaps me back into alertness. My lower body coils and my upper body rises, and when my scarlet eyes find the source of the sound, I see a white-furred tiger walking slowly toward me, its gaze cold and its wide mouth bristling with fangs over 10 centimeters long, its body at least 3 meters long and 1.5 meters tall, entirely different from any ordinary tiger I have ever seen. The system tells me calmly that this is a mutated saber-toothed tiger, that devouring it will grant 3,000 evolution points, that its teeth can tear through steel and I am to proceed with absolute caution. And yet I find I can only answer by staying perfectly still, as if I were a strange tree trunk. My focus narrowed to a single point. The forest around us stays noisy with birds and falling leaves, and occasionally a leaf lands on my body, but I do not dare move at all. The saber-toothed tiger's paws press into the leaf litter and make a subtle crushing sound as it walks, closing the distance by slow degrees. And then all at once it breaks into a run, its body crashing through plants as it accelerates, and a roar erupting from its mouth loud enough to shake the forest and send leaves falling like rain. It closes at the speed of silver-white lightning, and nature is cruel enough that between us, there is now only the relationship of hunter and prey, its blood-red eyes and wide mouth and dripping saliva making its desire plain. In my own mind, there is only a single thought, that I must eat this tiger, because eating it will bring me another qualitative change, just as the spirit pearl did, and I no longer care about the questions of why it is mutated, or why this forest is so oversized. 50 meters, 30 meters, and another roar, and the sharp spikes extending from its 4 paws promise to tear me apart, but I remind myself that my toxin is full, that my body is 3 meters long and nearly 15 centimeters across, that half upright I stand exactly 1.5 meters tall, and that from this distance I can reach the tiger's neck, and that the system has told me that unless I take a fatal injury I will not die. 10 meters, 5, 1, and the tiger charges into me with its bloody maw wide and bites down on my body so hard that numbness spreads through me and I lose sensation in an instant. I absolutely cannot die, I think. My evolution has only just begun, and ignoring the splashing blood I gather my last strength and drive my poison fangs through its thick fur, injecting all of the toxin into its neck at once. Its coarse roars drop as the poison spreads, and just as it prepares to tear at me a second time, its strength fails, and it collapses to the ground with a thud, while I keep my teeth locked in its neck until I am certain it is finished. Half of my body has been nearly severed, and the ground around me is soaked red, and my consciousness is fading, but the voice in my head keeps saying that if I eat, I will be fine, and with the last shred of strength I have, I open my mouth wide and bite into the tiger's body. The first mouthful of meat snaps my eyes open again, because an unprecedented power surges into me along with that piece of flesh, and I realize at once that this tiger is not an ordinary mutation. I swallow bite after bite, and though the tiger is enormous and my body has been torn open through the middle, half its carcass leaves my belly strangely flat and already my wounds are sealing, new flesh growing and even tougher than before. The meat carries a cool energy dozens of times better than anything I have eaten so far, and eating raw no longer feels bloody to me. My eyes glow cold, red blood streams from the corners of my mouth, and for 20 full minutes I give myself over to it. When only a pile of white bones is left, I coil in the middle of them and look my new frame over, satisfied, because my length has grown to about 4 meters, my diameter to 20 centimeters, and my skin is now more than 3 times as tough, enough that an ordinary dagger would struggle to cut through it. My bite force has grown to the point where I could snap a tree as thick as a bowl, and the overall strength of my body feels as if I could strangle an elephant by winding around its neck. The system chimes in to confirm its congratulations, and tells me I have gained 3,000 evolution points, that I am only 950 points short of the second stage evolution, and asks me to keep up the good work. When I ask whether I could simply devour every creature on this island in a day and clear several stages at once, the system explains that evolution is divided into stages, that right now I am only evolving on the basis of the blood python species, that this kind of evolution will reach a limit, and that when I reach the first stage perfect form I will break through the limits of my current species and undergo tremendous genetic change, at which point my next level will be Titanoboa. Even the word Titanoboa makes my pupils constrict, because a blood python's natural length is only about 2 feet while I am already 4 meters long, which means that at this rate, once I level up, I could reach hundreds of meters. The system adds that to break through the blood python's limit, I will have to devour all the species on this entire island, but that before then, I must still complete the second stage evolution, and the more I hear, the more my heart races. A Titanoboa is a legendary ancient species, I think, and if all it takes is eating the whole island, then so be it, because the plan of turning this place into my private territory is already decided. My body moves quickly as the will to hunt surges through me, bright red veins webbing my eyes and the air around me turning chill with the killing intent that I let radiate. The blood python is about to start the next phase of feeding. The island is very large, and for now I cannot calculate its boundaries, but from the way the leaves drift and the cool sea breeze brushes against my scales, I know it is surrounded by an endless ocean. And the fact that the beasts here have mutated must mean something strange is at work. Moving quickly by twisting through the underbrush, I find myself wondering whether humans might live here, or whether anyone has come for exploration or wilderness survival. And if I meet a human, whether I should eat them at all. But soon these questions fade because after I've crossed 300 meters, without seeing a single creature, my search has become bizarre. When I ask the system why there are no animals, it explains that the mutated saber-toothed tiger is a natural enemy of many creatures, that living species all possess an ability to sense danger as a basic guarantee of survival, and that after devouring the tiger I now pose a terrifying threat to the forest, so it is normal for everything to flee. I widen my eyes at the word terrifying, because it also implies that somewhere on this island there are creatures capable of posing a real threat to me, and since stronger devourings yield more evolution points, the thought sets my heart racing. I ask the system to tell me where the powerful creatures are, and it refuses without ceremony and tells me that all the creatures on the island must be explored by the host personally, which leaves me somewhat deflated. For the next full hour, hunting is miserable. I only managed to devour a single rabbit for 100 evolution points, because every time I approach a place the creatures there react in time and evacuate, leaving only the slowest behind. 8 hours and 23 minutes pass and my evolution points reach 4,980 before I finally find a solitary wild chicken with a long tail and plump body, already cooing in alarm and spreading its wings to fly. I do not give it the chance. I twist my body at high speed and rush it with a single thought of, eat it, eat it, eat it, filling my mind. Because the instant I swallow it, the second stage evolution will be mine after nearly 9 hours of patience. 2 poison fangs flash, and in less than 2 seconds the wild chicken has gone into my mouth, and the system's voice rings out with unusual excitement, announcing that I have gained 20 evolution points for a total of 5,000, and asking whether I wish to initiate the stage evolution. I tell it to start at once, and it warns me that the second stage evolution requires 8 to 12 hours of a dormant period, during which my body will not respond to my consciousness, and I will not be able to resist any attack. So I must choose a safe place first. The forest is so vast that safety is exactly what cannot be guaranteed, but after more than 5 hours of searching, I find a huge rock and use my teeth to dig a large hole where the rock meets the ground, then squeeze my body inside and use my head to block the entrance, sealing myself from the outside world. This should be safe, I mutter, hidden in the pitch-black cave, and tell the system to begin the second stage evolution. And the moment my voice fades, a powerful energy instantly surges through me, and my eyes snap wide open inside the dark. I had expected a deep sleep, but it is nothing of the kind. My body cannot move, but my consciousness is clearer than it has ever been, and the pitch black is nothing to me, because my gaze makes out the grayish-brown soil and the small stones inside it, and the rotten leaves underfoot, and a faint odor of decay that I can smell with absolute precision. Even more astonishingly, despite having sealed the cave, I can see the scene outside with perfect clarity, an unknown plant growing at the entrance and rustling in the wind, an ant on its leaf being blown away by a stronger gust, a small thumb-sized insect further off gnawing a leaf and leaving fine cut marks with teeth like needle tips. On that leaf, a cocoon wrapped in silk thinner than a hair begins to move and hiss, and I watch time race through me while I hold still, until 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours later, the cocoon finally cracks open, and a butterfly with long antennae and colorful wings stretches out, stands and shakes itself dry, and takes to the air, only to be swooped on and swallowed by a small bird before it can cross a meter. I whisper to myself, if this body were human, how powerful would it be? And note that the scientific academies back home would lose their minds over such a gift, that nature is cruel but miraculous, and that even becoming a titanoboa will not be enough. Beneath my skin, a transformation is underway, my scales appearing to petrify and then shedding in layers of white snakeskin that crack apart with small cracking sounds. And when the shedding is complete, my new skin is filled with a metallic luster and feels hard enough that a sharp blade might not cut through it. My scarlet pupils turn pitch black and deep as an abyss, my gaze sharp enough that I frighten myself a little when I consider it, and the cobra poison fangs in my mouth grow longer, clean of old blood, hanging down to the side of my chin with the tiniest of venom ducts through their centers. 7 hours, 8 hours, and though my aura has dropped to 0 so that creatures begin appearing again outside the cave, nothing attacks. 9 hours in, soreness finally washes through my body like the ache of a human who has sat too long, and the system's voice tells me that I have completed the second stage of evolution. I ask what I have gained, because I have watched every part of myself change and want the accounting laid out. The system explains that the second stage evolution is mainly a comprehensive strengthening of the body, that I now measure 4.5 meters long and average 25 centimeters across, that I weigh 120 kilograms, that my skin can easily withstand scratches from sharp weapons, that my bite force has increased fivefold so that I can easily bite stones into pieces, that my vision reaches 300 meters, that consciousness sensing now reaches 10 meters, and that I can choose to hide the killing intent of my body at will. The consciousness sensing will let me perceive everything within a 10-meter radius without my eyes, and the hiding of killing intent is just as valuable, because one of the reasons I could not catch prey before was that my aura reached my targets before I did. So with this skill I can close silently on anything. In short, the evolution is truly powerful, and I am barely finished being excited before a sudden change outside the cave pulls me back, because pairs of red glowing eyes are staring fixedly at my hiding place. Gusts of cold wind whistle through the forest, and night has fallen over it in the 9 hours of my evolution, though darkness is almost nothing to a snake, and less than nothing to me with my new consciousness sensing. Outside the cave are pairs of cold, bloodthirsty glowing red eyes, howls rising incessantly, and a rough count tells me there are at least 200 wolves surrounding the rock, likely drawn by the powerful vitality I radiated without meaning to as the evolution completed. Their eyes and mine mirror each other in killing intent, and inwardly I decide that the timing could not be better, because I have just finished my second stage and need something to test my strength against. And the system has told me that poison fangs cannot affect my own body, so I am free to see how far my bite has come. My body has recovered enough to move freely, and with a single coiled push, I roll the huge stone off the entrance of the cave and send soil spraying in every direction, the wolves retreating instinctively as the stone crashes aside. Their bloodthirsty eyes hold a trace of fear and a larger measure of greed, because their instincts are telling them that the python before them is dangerous, but that my meat will be delicious and carry immense energy, so that eating me will make every one of them stronger. And that is the calculation they are willing to die for. I emerge and coil my lower body while rising with the upper, breathing deeply so that the strength inside me feels vigorous and alive, and I tremble with excitement at the plain fact of being this alive. The system reminds me that reaching the third stage evolution as a blood python will require 100,000 evolution points, and that because of the species I have previously devoured, each wolf will offer me 100 points, and I am briefly startled by the jump in the requirement from the 1,000 points of my first evolution. The system answers my complaint with figures, telling me there are 311 wolves in front of me, one of them a wolf king, that devouring all 311 will yield 31,000 points, and that the wolf king carries special rewards, and that the male eagle I ate earlier was not an ordinary eagle but a black eagle, whose combat power was much higher than a wolf's. A black eagle is a nationally protected animal, I think, and the system's calculations have always been reasonable, so I can see that 100,000 is not as much as it sounds, although the thought that the next stage after that might demand millions or tens of millions of points makes me shake my head vigorously. Forget it, I murmur. I had better take down this wolf pack first, my eyes widening and my scarlet tongue flicking out, so that the falling leaves around me shimmer with a murderous, eerie atmosphere. In my old human form, this formation of wolves would have made me think I was dead, but in this body I only think that food delivered to my doorstep would be rude to refuse. I open my mouth wide, exposing the two sharp poison fangs, exert fierce force with my coiled lower body, and in the next instant transform into a pitch-black shadow rushing at the nearest wolf, a speed so fast that it surprises even me, far beyond what a human could match because a snake's musculature simply moves differently. My fangs bite with unmatched precision into the wolf's neck, the poison injects, and the explosive increase in my bite force means that a crack rings through the air, and when the wolf's head falls away in a spray of blood, both the pack and I are stunned in the same instant. A mist of blood sprays from the torn neck, the stench spreading through the air, and I swallow reflexively and take a mouthful of wolf blood, which immediately pours a scorching pure energy through me, at which point my dazed expression hardens into a fixed gaze on the rest of the pack, and the brutal massacre begins. Cold winds blow through the forest in gust after gust, and though a python is a cold-blooded creature and my own body registers the chill only as a fact of the environment, I can see the fur rise on the wolves as they stand against it. They howl low to keep up their courage and keep their bodies warm, and behind the pack a different shape lingers, a grayish-white wolf with a cold, eerie gaze, standing apart, locked on me, its size easily 3 times that of the ordinary wolves, and its voice a full-throat deep roar rather than a howl. This is the Wolf King, drawn here because its instincts have told it that eating me will make it stronger, and when it watches me tear the first wolf apart there is no fear in its eyes, but a great deal of excitement. It growls in order to attack, telling the pack that a lone snake cannot possibly match their numbers, and that if they can close with me they will tear me to pieces, and the hesitation they showed an instant earlier falls away in a breath. Howls rise and fall in black silhouettes, and the pack rushes at me at full speed, while I am still in the middle of devouring the first wolf, and honestly more annoyed than alarmed by the interruption. Fresh blood and soft wolf meat pour a perfect enjoyment through me as the evolution points climb, and I can feel my cells leaping for joy at the taste, but the wolves refuse to let me eat in peace, and I finally pull my attention back to the work at hand. Opening my mouth wide, I crush another wolf's neck with a single bite. A flick of my tail sends a second one tumbling through the air with an audible boom, and when I rear up and bring my body down, a third is pressed into the mud. The scene is so chaotic that I stop trying to track the individual kills and count only in numbers. noting the 50th even as I remark to myself that the sensation of a wolf striking me doesn't even break skin, the 88th as I complain that I am covered in bloodstains, the 112th as I notice fresh blood is genuinely delicious, and that the devouring system is powerful, that every swallow strengthens me. I keep fighting and my eyes slowly shift from jet black to bright red, the killing intent on my body turning boiling and turbulent, and I hiss with every new kill, growing braver and more excited the longer it runs. From the high ground, the silver-gray wolf king watches the slaughter and lets out a low growl at each death, and its gaze finally loses the last of its excitement and fills with fear. A single python has slain so many of its wolves so easily that even it would lose against the remaining pack, but it still refuses to retreat. Its internal calculation tells it that if the pack exhausts my strength, it can step in personally, and if the pack is gone entirely, it can always recruit more. I pass 190, past 200. Feel every bite keeps strengthening me as the blood I swallow turns to power. And when I pass 300, I announce with a delighted hiss that even though I haven't yet reached 100,000 evolution points, my body feels as if it is about to boil, and that eating the meat afterward will leave me stronger still. The last 10 wolves finally understand fear and cluster at the edge of the ring, no longer daring a step forward, and the forest fills with the aura of death. The silver-gray wolf king finally steps forward, paws crushing leaves in a soft rustling as it approaches the sea of corpses, its gaze still calculating rather than mournful. It believes the work of the pack has worn me down to a spent force, and that it can finish me off with a clean strike, and I am amused enough by the delusion to let it come closer. Out of the original 311 wolves there are now 11 left alive, including the king itself, and as the king reaches the sea of corpses, several bodies roll away, and I look up to find its eyes on mine. The moment my gaze meets its gaze, the excitement in it drains entirely, and fear pours into the space left behind, because the snake it sees is over 4 meters long, untouched by exhaustion, scales glazed with thick viscous blood, devouring corpse after corpse while its belly never expands, as if each wolf becomes energy the instant it is swallowed. A natural instinct tells the king that I am dangerous, and its body begins to retreat, while the 10 wolves beside it are too terrified to move. I tell them, since they have come this far, they might as well stay, because they are all perfect evolution points. And when I flick my scarlet tongue, they begin to retreat in earnest. Coiling my lower body and pushing down on my muscles, I spring into the air more than 3 meters, the body like a compressed spring, and on the way up my open jaws crush another live wolf's neck in a burst of blood. The remaining 10, the king included, finally understand they cannot stand and run. But when the king has only managed 20 meters, it turns back, and its eyes widen at the sight of the 3-meter wall of corpses collapsing as I burst through it. Tongue flicking, murderous intent whistling on the wind. Snap, snap, the 9 ordinary wolves fall to a single bite each in less than 10 seconds, and then I coil and block the king's path. I don't kill it at once because its build is strange, over 2 meters long and about 1.3 meters tall, far beyond any natural wolf, and I suspect it is a mutated species like the saber-toothed tiger, which means the appearance of mutations on this island is still something I need to understand. Only you are left, I tell it. If you want to live, tell me why you are different from the others. But even as I ask, my voice leaves me only a snake hissing, and the king cannot understand me at all. Its fur stands on end, and judging my speed from the moment in the air, it decides it has no way out and charges me head on, and I answer by telling it that it has a death wish, and letting my killing intent flare. High above the canopy, birds scatter away in flocks at the sound of the fight spreading through the forest. The king's eyes are bloodshot, and its teeth are smeared with blood. Its hind legs dig in and its front legs brace, and it puts on what would probably intimidate other predators but is, frankly, an insult to my intelligence. Its roars grow louder as it closes, and they mean nothing to me, and less than a meter away it finally reads its own death in my gaze, skids to a halt, and drops to its front knees with a thud, begging pitifully for mercy. A wolf kneeling to a snake is unbelievable from any angle, and I hesitate for a heartbeat. But the system's promised reward returns to my mind, and I decide that no matter how intelligent this wolf may be, I will eat it today. The king senses the shift in my killing intent, leaps up from its feigned weakness, and pounces at me jaws open and fangs out, which only lets my anger through, and I open my mouth wide and swallow its head in a single motion, not bothering with the fangs at all. Its forelegs thrash rhythmically against the ground, as I use my muscles to push it deeper inside me. The top and bottom of my jaws stretch to a 270-degree angle like a bloodthirsty maw. And 10 minutes in the king is halfway inside me. 20 minutes and its entire body has become a stream of pure energy flowing through mine. Before so arrogant and now gone so wretchedly, the king earns even a twinge of sympathy from me, but I have no time to dwell on it, because coiled on the ground I can feel my strength and speed and defense all rising again. The system confirms the kill, announces 5,000 evolution points and a comprehensive improvement in physical attributes, reminds me that the 3rd stage of evolution still waits, and tells me that the king has dropped a silver treasure chest that I may open at my leisure. The copper chest earlier gave me my poison fangs, and a silver one must surely carry something stronger, but I decide to finish grinding points first, and with the experience of swallowing the king, the rest is easy. I work through the sea of corpses, each wolf one gulp, and eventually I open my jaws to their maximum extent and take 3 at a time. The system calls out the 100-point awards, one after another, the count rolling up. 20 minutes of steady devouring and the mountain is gone, leaving me coiled on a slurry of blood and mud as my body begins to change again. Cold wind keeps sweeping over me, and for a moment my consciousness returns to a kind of calm clarity. I truly never expected that being reborn as a snake would remake even my subconscious so thoroughly, because as a human my hands trembled just killing a fish, and yet now the slaughter has stopped feeling disgusting and begun to feel like anticipation. Hunger has not left me even after the entire pack, and the anticipation only makes me want more. With a single thought, the fluorescent screen appears again, and the infinite evolution system shows that my evolution points stand at 36,000 out of the 100,000 required for the 3rd stage, that my lifespan is now 20 years, that my mission is to complete the 3rd stage and expand my territory toward the goal of the entire island, and that the silver treasure chest is mine to open whenever I choose. I tell the system to open it, and a silver-white chest appears, scatters white light, and shows me 3 prizes at once: an apostle's authority allowing me to control any apostle through consciousness, a regional beast language letting me speak directly to any beast on this island, and a body size enhancement plan that will bring my length to 5 meters. I choose the size first, because as a snake being larger and more ferocious is what makes other creatures afraid, and the moment I confirm it, a soft light bursts from the chest and a scorching energy pours into me, my body stretching visibly until it stops exactly at 5 meters with a diameter of 25 centimeters. Satisfied, I begin looking for food again, and a cold light flashes through my newly sharpened consciousness, because I can now sense the aura of my own kind 3,000 meters away. And the number is more than 1. A blood python nest, I think, my tongue flicking constantly, and for reasons I cannot explain, even my human consciousness trembles with excitement. Since they are of my own kind, I will go and take a look, and I set off, my eyes returning to their pitch-black abyssal color. 3,000 meters is still a long way, and I move with my killing intent completely concealed, devouring any creature that crosses my path without hesitation, so that by the time I have covered the first 1,000 meters, my evolution points reach 38,000, and by 2,000 they are at 40,000. The detour work slows me down, and it takes more than 20 minutes to cover the full 3,000, but at last the constant hissing and flickering tongues of a large gathering reach me from up ahead, and I slow to survey the ground. This is a vast swamp, a forest of short, twisted shrubs that grow in shapes echoing snake bodies, and a chilling aura that would turn an ordinary creature away before it dared step closer. I stand at the edge with half of my body raised, looking into the shrub forest and asking aloud whether this is the nest, when a rustling brings me a conversation I can actually understand, thanks to the regional beast language. The snakes inside are plotting war. Humans attacked the clan 2 hours ago, killed one called Tu in a single blow, and captured another called Shah, and they intend to march tonight because humans who dare to enter their area must pay. To hear snakes speak like this, to hear them carry names, and to learn that humans live on this island with powerful weapons is so unexpected that I have to take a breath before moving on, because on a mutated island like this, I had assumed no humans could survive. The news also reminds me to be cautious, because as a former human, I know some of humanity's uglier methods. And since my evolution has now exceeded ordinary blood python form, they would spare no cost to capture me, and my current body cannot yet stand up to heavy weapons. I still need to keep getting stronger, I decide, and slide into the shrubs. Inside, the shrubs surround a center of huge rocks, and on every rock coils a blood python, dense and crisscrossing, all upper bodies raised and scarlet tongues flicking so that the air carries a faint fishy smell along with its aura of slaughter. At the very center, a 4-meter blood python holds its head high as leader, announcing coldly that the movements of the humans are known, and that the Serpent Clan will wage war that very night, and the surrounding pythons listen in absolute silence. I arrive behind them and, because I have hidden my aura, they do not so much as turn my way. You say you know the humans' movements. I answer slowly. In that case, you must know this island intimately. From today, I want this snake group and I will be your new king. And as for the humans, I will handle them in my own way. My words pass out of me in snake language, and in unison over 300 snakes whip their heads around, their bright red eyes cold in the night, and the Snake King's eyes in the center burst with killing intent while I, unhurried, begin moving toward him. The pythons murmur among themselves in shock, noting my size, the thickness of my skin, the sense that I am even larger than their king, and I feel every one of their thoughts because the regional beast language carries them to me. In the animal world, the strong are supreme. The one who is powerful is the king. The Snake King raises its head, tells me I give it a very dangerous feeling, and orders me to defeat it first if I want its throne. And at the same moment, the system's voice announces that one blood python king has been detected and that devouring it will yield 10,000 evolution points. For a moment, it feels strange to eat another of my kind, but I cannot afford to dwell on it, and I tell the king to come at me, standing in place because after an entire wolf pack and a mutated saber-toothed tiger, I have no respect left for it. Between kings there is no need for idle talk, and as it lunges at me with a foul stench pouring out of its open mouth, I wait only until it is within a meter before opening my own mouth and lunging, swallowing its head before its fangs can find me. Gulps echo through the bushes as I pull the 4-meter king deeper into me, its tail lashing groundward as its strength leaves, and the hundreds of pythons around us fall dead silent, not one of them daring to so much as flick a tongue for fear of drawing my attention. Their king, invincible in their eyes, has been killed with embarrassing ease, and the system turns the swallowed mass directly into pure energy, without my belly ever growing, which terrifies the watchers further because they cannot explain what they are seeing. The system congratulates me for the 10,000 points, notes that the surrounding blood pythons are so far beneath me now that they yield only 10 points each, and advises me that eating them is not worthwhile, so I abandon that plan on the spot. I am the king of these snakes now, and driving them to scout the forest or to bring me prey is more rational than simply consuming them, so I sweep my cold gaze around the shrubs and declare that from this day forward I am their king, and that any who refuse to submit will die. Every one of them understands, and a crisp bang a moment later from the west, no more than 1,000 meters off, turns the submission into something sharper. A few trembling voices confirm that the humans have already found the nest and attacked, and cold killing intent erupts from me. Crisp gunfire echoes again and again, and the wild beasts in the forest flee in every direction, leaving the night chaotic. Coiled where the Snake King stood, I consider the question inside me, because my consciousness is still human, and yet hearing that humans are slaughtering my pack makes anger rise inside me. To kill or not to kill, I debate. Reason tells me not to eat humans, but my body tempts me, because as creatures at the top of the food chain and carrying high-level genes, their evolution points should come faster than any ordinary kill. While the guns continue, I decide that if humans live in groups, there must be leaders, and that snakes are the same, so I ask whoever served the old Snake King as trusted lieutenants to step forward. 8 pythons about 1.5 meters long slither out, and though they are similar in build, I can see at a glance that 4 are male and 4 are female. They plead at once for mercy, explaining that they served the old king only because they were forced to, and knowing fear and knowing how to beg are recognizable traits I had not expected from snakes. From today on, you are my subordinates, I tell them, responsible for mobilizing the pack in its daily work. Any mistake will cost you your life, and I will give each of you a name so that you will answer the instant you are called. After a few seconds of thought, I name the 4 females from the left as Spring, Flower, Autumn, and Moon, and the 4 males from the right as Seek, Joy, Make, and Merry, the whole set forming the hedonistic idiom that has been running under my tongue. They accept joyfully, and the surrounding snakes look on with envy. Spring, I ask, how many snakes are there in the pack in total? And she answers in careful detail that there are 350 remaining after the humans' attack and the old king's death, of which over 100 are still under 50 centimeters and not yet combat ready, while about 120 of the adults can actually fight. It is less than I had hoped, and I tell her we must find a way to cultivate 800 blood pythons, so that each of them can lead 100. Spring hesitates and tells me that the humans have been making constant trouble for them, and that normal growth simply will not produce adult snakes fast enough before the humans find them again. Humans again, I think, and my gaze darkens. This shrub ring will be our base, I tell them. The rest of you stay here and recover, and the 8 of you pick out 4 more among the grown snakes to help you, and within a 5,000-meter radius you are to bring me every piece of prey you can hunt, to pile at the base and wait for my return. As for the humans, I will handle them for now. To be honest, I do not yet have any real hostility toward humans, and if I can, I mean only to scare them, but if they push me, I will certainly not be polite. With that, I turn and slip toward the gunfire, leaving the whole pack with the sense of a coming storm. Deep in the forest, 5 shapes in night vision goggles move in a single file line. 4 men and 1 woman, large packs on their backs, pistols on their hips, submachine guns in their hands, every one of them thick and muscled with a look of serious training. Faster, keep moving, the leader orders coldly in English. The snake swarm's direction is confirmed, and once it is found, we deploy sulfur grenades and open fire, and no one is to escape. The leader is at least 1.9 meters, dark-skinned, and cuts through the undergrowth as if walking on flat ground. Any abnormal creature unfortunate enough to cross his sights dropping to a burst of fire. The woman, Ella, complains about the hour and the filth on her skin, and is told to shut up because this is an order and the cargo must still be with other blood pythons before they swallow and digest it. A thin, shrewd man called Marlin argues that the beasts here fall easily to enough firepower, and that what matters is finding the item, his eyes flickering with some private scheme. A fourth called Hal asks whether the bead really was swallowed by a blood python, and hopes the expedition is worth it, and Marlin answers that if the laboratory video is true, it is worth the risk, because they are the hunter squad. The fifth, a white man trailing at the back, has stayed silent the entire march, and his step is the most agile of the group. Coiled on a tree trunk above them, I watch with my aura hidden, and because I am cold-blooded and have already passed 3 stages of evolution, there is no chance of them spotting me. Between them and the poachers I have imagined before, there is really no difference. I think in some ways these are worse because they shoot any creature that crosses their line of sight and never even look at the corpses. A bead. A laboratory. A lot of secrets behind this, and I think at once of the spirit pearl the giant snake left me on the morning I was reborn, which I ate whole, which is apparently exactly what these humans are looking for. I asked the system whether the regional beast language lets me speak to humans as well, and it confirms that since these people arrived on the island before my ability took effect, I can speak to them without barrier, adding with a tempter's calm that as advanced organisms humans yield 5,000 evolution points apiece. 5 of them would give me 25,000. 10 would finish my 4th stage in one motion, and a trace of killing intent rises in my eyes as I test the language by calling out to them, coldly, "Humans, are you looking for me?" The 5 stop at once, turn toward the voice, sweat beading on their skin because no human made that sound, and when they look up at the giant snake coiled on the tree trunk, they freeze. They shout in disbelief, noting the length I carry and the 15-centimeter poison fangs at the sides of my mouth, and then special training kicks in, and they raise their weapons and fire wildly toward me. I drop toward the base of the trunk a fraction ahead of the first bullet, and the submachine guns cut the great tree apart at my old perch, so that the whole upper length crashes down in the dark. Their faces twist under the night vision goggles as they realize I am nowhere to be found, and the leader, Jonah, orders them to circle up and guard the perimeter, insisting that the snake ran because it fears them and therefore is not a real threat. Ella reminds them that a snake spoke, and Jonah answers that it must have been an illusion and that they are here to hunt a blood python, because the best way to resist fear is to refuse to think about what frightens you. What a bunch of idiots, I murmur from hiding, and the words reach them again, clear across the silence, so that the same assurance cannot quite close its hand over them twice. Jonah's voice trembles as he asks whether they all heard, and the others shout at whoever is speaking to stop playing ghost and come out if he is a human. I continue approaching in the grass, and when I speak again to tell them that I hear they came to slaughter the blood python pack, and that before that I want to ask a few questions, they open fire again, 2 bullets striking my body and embedding in my skin without penetrating through to flesh but hurting all the same. Their habit of firing without a word annoys me enough that my residual hesitation about eating humans dissolves, since they will not answer properly. Leaving so many evolution points unused would be a waste. Muttering that this is their own doing, I surge forward like a huge shadow, mouth opening wide, poison fangs glinting, and before any of them can fully register what is happening, I swallow one of them whole in under 1/10 of a second. The remaining 4 turn to find a 5-meter snake rearing 3 meters high with eyes full of killing intent trained on them. The sound of a human being devoured by a giant python is, for the 4 who are left, worse than any gunfire, because they can now see the blood-colored tongue, the dripping poison fangs, the maw that looks fully capable of tearing and swallowing them whole. They shout at one another that this snake has killed Hal, and after about 2 full seconds of paralysis they try to shoot me again. In those 2 seconds I could have killed them 100 different ways, but looking at their terrified faces I am struck by how much I am enjoying this. A change in my own mentality that makes me wonder whether I am becoming more beast than man. Before they can fire, I move faster than they can, sweeping their submachine guns 20 meters into the dark with a casual swat. And before they have even realized the weapons are gone, I speak again, telling them that I will ask a few questions, that satisfying answers might keep them alive, and the bad ones will get them all killed. They see a 5-meter snake addressing them in fluent English, and whatever illusion they clung to is gone. The snake has gained intelligence, and if that is true, the world they know is over. Your target is the blood python, I say. I heard it just now. You say the python swallowed something. Tell me what. Marlin, the thin, shrewd one, cannot accept what he is seeing and stammers back a question about whether snakes can really talk, and I answer him by opening my mouth and swallowing him whole, in a hiss that ends in less than 2 seconds. A moment later, I spit his backpack out onto the ground, the fabric scored by the acids of my digestion, weapons showing through the tears, and I listen to Ella begin to scream Marlene's name as she comes apart at the edges. The leader, Jonah, still cannot read the situation. From somewhere he finds the stones to pull his pistol with one hand and a grenade with the other, intending to make a stand. Seeing him commit, I give up on deciding whether to kill him and simply open my mouth so that my scarlet tongue shoots out several meters, coils around him, and pulls him in a single motion, his weapons crashing uselessly against the inside of my mouth, his body digested into evolution points before they have even hit the floor. Ella finally reacts well because her life depends on her words, and blurts out everything she knows, that they don't really understand the bead themselves, that they heard rumors out of a laboratory, that it is said to come from a meteorite and carry very powerful energy, that during an accident it was taken out and swallowed by a blood python. Spirit bead, meteorite, laboratory, python. It is useful, and I do not really need her alive to keep it. Her voice is too shrill, and I swallow her calmly mid-sentence. I murmur that she might have avoided this if she had only been quieter, and turn my gaze on the last survivor, the white man, Alec, who has given me an odd feeling from the beginning. You are the only one left, I tell him. Speak. What do you know? And in the middle of the question, the system's voice rises in my mind to announce that, because I have successfully devoured 4 humans, a hidden mission is activated, and that it will complete a further upgrade of itself. The news catches me off guard, but the upgrade has already begun on its own. A scorching warm current flows through my body and a massive amount of information floods into my mind and rests somewhere just past reach. A strange and eerie sensation of carrying knowledge I cannot yet use. Alec, meanwhile, remains remarkably bold, his tone eerily calm, telling me that his name is Alec and that he knows very little. That the bead would fetch a good price and so the squad took the job. That they had been on this island nearly 3 months, and that through certain accidents they learned it had been swallowed by a blood python, and so began hunting the pythons. He adds that the island is uninhabited, that a large biological research institute once stood here developing a special agent, that a leak mutated many creatures and forced the squad to arm itself heavily, and that before coming in they were hired by a large American mercenary organization and built a signal base station on the island that transmits a status report every 24 hours. If this squad fails to return, more mercenaries will come with heavier weapons, and eventually, if the bead cannot be recovered, the island itself will be flattened from the sea. Then he asks whether I will deal with him instead, offering to keep my secret and report the mission a failure. He is openly looking into my eyes, and even as the system's upgrade continues, his words come through with absolute clarity. He is calm because he realizes my intelligence matches his own, and he has already made his own internal decision to sell my existence to the highest bidder, the instant he sets foot off the island. A deal, I say. Interesting. How would we make one? And I deliberately intensify the killing intent in my body as I speak. His body trembles and he endures it anyway, offering to leave and keep silent and never return. We can talk about the minor matters later, I answer. But you said this is an island, and that you have been here a long time, so you have precise data and a map, and I want all of it on the ground. He sets his pack down carefully, his eyes flicking to a grenade inside it, and then away again under the pressure of my radiated intent, and he draws out a hand-drawn map and places it gently on the ground. The moment the map is clear of his hand, I move, and in one motion he is gone. 5,000 evolution points added to the rest, his little schemes buried with him, because I have already eaten 4, and 1 more is no obstacle. My body begins to tremble slightly as the system's upgrade completes. A massive quantity of brand new information arranges itself inside me, and I cannot help muttering that I seem to have hit the jackpot. Hissing fills the pitch-black forest as I stand face-to-face with the last of the squad, the one who calls himself Alec, and in the middle of our staring match the system announces that my devouring 4 humans has activated a hidden mission, and that it will now complete an upgrade of itself. The news comes so abruptly that even I am caught off balance, and the upgrade begins on its own, before I can answer, a scorching warm current surging through my body, while a massive amount of information floods my mind and settles out of reach. Eerie knowledge I carry without yet being able to use. Alec reads my pause as an opening and speaks with a steady calm. His name is Alec. He does not know much. The bead will sell for a high price, so they took the job. For nearly 3 months they have been on this island, and through certain accidents they discovered it had been swallowed by a blood python, which is why they began hunting the pack. He adds that the island is uninhabited, that a large biological research institute once stood on it and developed a special agent, that a leak triggered the mutations I have been eating, and that before the squad entered the forest, they were hired by a large American mercenary organization and have established a signal base station at the edge of the island that transmits every 24 hours. If the squad fails to report in, more mercenaries will come with heavier weapons, and eventually, if the bead cannot be recovered, the island itself will be blasted into the sea. Then he offers a deal, that if I let him leave he will keep my secret, claim his mission failed, and never set foot here again. His eyes stay on mine as he speaks, and even as the system's upgrade continues I can hear him perfectly. He is speaking calmly because he has read my intelligence and already decided to sell my existence to the wider world the instant he gets clear. I entertain him only to pull more out of him, asking how such a deal would work, and I deliberately intensify my killing intent so that his body trembles while he answers. He swears he will keep silent, report failure, and never return. Those minor matters can wait, I tell him, but you said this is an island, and you have been here a long time, so you have precise data and a map, and I want all of it on the ground. He slides his pack off his back. His eyes flick once to a grenade inside before the pressure of my aura tugs them away, and he draws out a hand-drawn map and lays it carefully on the ground. The moment his hand lifts clear of the paper I move, opening my mouth in the same motion, and he is gone in a single gulp. 5,000 evolution points added to the count. His schemes buried with him because after 4 humans, 1 more is no obstacle. My body shudders slightly as the system's upgrade finishes. A great new panel of information sorts itself inside me, and I cannot help murmuring that I seem to have hit the jackpot. Deep in the forest I coil and let the numbers resolve. 5 swallowed humans have carried my evolution points to 75,000, a mere 25,000 short of the 4th stage blood python evolution, but the system's new dataset pulls my attention before the count. The display lists my name, my primary species, my age, my lifespan extended to 50 years, my evolution points, my level, My languages as snake language and regional beast language. My ability is poison fangs. One apostle, a body length of 5 meters, an average diameter of 35 centimeters. A physical resistance of level 3 that can withstand blades and stop ordinary firearm rounds. A speed of 10 meters per second and a strength of 5 tons. More crucially, the system shows me a species evolution points pyramid, 100 or so creatures in the bottom layer worth less than a single point, about 80 in the next layer under 10 points. Successive tiers rising to 100, 1,000, and 2,000 points, 21 classification layers in all, and ranked at the very top, unsurprisingly. Humans whose point value has quietly climbed from 5,000 to 10,000. But above humans, a large question mark still hangs, and when I ask the system to explain it, it answers that beyond humans there exist creatures even greater, that devouring them offers yet more rewards but the category is unknown, and I must discover it on my own, and that outside Earth there are countless unknown creatures as well. My body trembles at the scale of that news, but I bury the questions in myself and murmur that with more than 6 billion humans on Earth they stand at the top of the chart for now, and are for my purposes the best resource I have ever heard of. It is a cold thought, and I notice only later how naturally it arrives. The system announces further that with its upgrade its host strength assessment is now detailed, that the species ranking is locked in so that whenever I see a creature I can read its level and evolution points except for unknowns, and that within the Apostle system I now have 8 control slots that can be applied to any creature on Earth, including humans, with the authority to contact and forcibly direct them. Even humans, then, I could control if I wished, but with more than 6 billion humans standing at the top of the chart as the best source of evolution points, controlling them holds little interest for me. I ask whether the controlled creatures can also be empowered to evolve, and the system confirms it, with the added safeguard that as long as I wish it, I can kill any controlled subject at any moment. I decide at once to use 4 slots on Spring, Flower, Autumn, and Moon, and 4 on Seek, Joy, Make, and Marry, the 8 I have already named, and to grant them the power to evolve, because 6 billion humans is more than a lone python can chew through. Forever and a pack of empowered pythons leading expanded groups will be the most efficient way to grind. The system acknowledges the order, and back in the shrubs, the 8 of them feel a hot energy bloom inside them and begin to grow visibly on the ground, to the shock of every ordinary blood python around them. I scoop up Alex Island map and turn back toward the base, unaware that at the same moment, on a rock at the edge of the island, a signal base station is already pulsing radio into the open air and bouncing away out of reach. Morning's first light spills across the island, brightening the pitch-black forest, and under a massive tree only a few camouflage packs sit covered in bloodstains, a small signal transmitter inside one of them blinking with a steady beep as it pipes its traffic to the station on the rocks and outward. In the clearing where the shrubs ring the snake group's rocks, something very different is playing out. At the very center, 9 blood pythons are coiled, the 8 surrounding one larger body, and in the minds of the 8 I sense fear, awe, excitement, and an absolute willing submission. They have grown to 4.5 meters each in the space of the evolution I gifted them, and the hundreds of lesser pythons have watched the whole thing firsthand. After a few minutes, the 8 finally lower their heads and whisper their thanks, noting that a huge rock could be crushed to pieces now. That being reborn is the only word that fits, calling me master and even God. I ask how it feels. I tell them they will no longer need me to hunt, that they will go out for me instead, and then I send them out with a cold flash in my eyes. Divide into 8 squads. Take your respective snake swarms into the forest for 3 hours. Hunt for large creatures, and see who brings back the most. They answer yes in unison and scatter like current through the undergrowth, and I wait in the clearing for the hauls to begin piling up. Creature after creature lands at my feet, and 3 hours on they return with more than I had imagined, announcing their offerings with pride. 25,000 points of food, I think, looking at the pile. Enough to complete the 4th stage and see how strong I will become. I tell them to step aside, and with my mouth wide and my scarlet tongue extended, I work through the pile piece by piece, the system's voice ringing kill after kill in my mind. Rabbits at 1 point, wolves at 100 points, a giant lion at 2,000 points, the counter running frantically upward. Half an hour later the mountain is gone, and my evolution points stand neatly at 100,000, my belly no larger than before. Watching me from the side, the 8 pythons are struck by shock as much as awe, and without another moment of delay I coil in the middle of the clearing under their protection, and begin the 4th stage evolution with peace of mind. Scorching energy surges through me, my 5-meter frame begins to lengthen again, the thickness of my body shifting visibly, and at the same moment a large number of aggressive creatures are quietly gathering at the edge of the shrubs, the snake group's recent hunting having sparked the resistance of the forest's other clans. Around 9 in the morning the dazzling sun climbs over the east and the soft light turns the canopy into a kind of artwork, but below it today is different. Beasts of every type have gathered. Wolves, lions, tigers, leopards, wild boars, creatures that would normally fight at first sight now standing side by side under their leader's eyes, all of them looking toward the shrubs with an unprecedented fear and killing intent. Roars and howls and hisses rise together and they move cautiously forward, a chorus unlike anything the island has ever seen. Far across the water, 500 nautical miles off, a mercenary sits at a console in a control room and turns pale as he watches a distorted video loop play on his screen. A voice message declaring that everyone at the mercenary base should be told that the senders have been killed, that the island is extremely dangerous, and that they must be avenged. The video, filmed by who knows what and relayed by who knows how, shows a giant glowing-eyed creature swallow a mercenary whole in the dark, and the scream loops 5 times for 5 dead mercenaries. In minutes, the conference room fills with camouflaged men, and the imposing man at the head of the table announces that the organization has lost 5 elites in a laboratory mission on a deserted island. One white man speaks first, outlining 3 plans: to stay away and sell the footage to governments whose scientists and politicians will pay enough interest, to send more manpower to investigate and bring the creature to heel, or to destroy the island outright with heavy weapons, since it is an uninhabited place and nobody will care. One by one, they voice support, every pair of eyes filled with greed and murderous intent. And just as consensus is reached, the man at the head of the table offers his own plan with a faint smile on his face. Before the meeting, he received word that another mercenary team has found a group of Chinese people vacationing at sea and put them all to sleep with anesthetic gas. And perhaps they can be delivered to the island for wilderness survival. At his words, the room lights up around him. Back on the island, sunlight breaks through the canopy and a great number of creatures move rustling through the leaves toward the shrubs, the protection around me tightening as the 8 pythons sense the incoming tide. On the ground, I continue my evolution, shedding skin and growing, shedding and growing, the red and black patterns refining themselves as if carved. And though this is not a genetic leap, it is at least a 10-fold strengthening overall. The hundreds of ordinary pythons watch and finally begin to murmur that their king has far surpassed his predecessor, that the limits of the blood python have been broken, that this is the longest, strongest snake they have ever seen. At the same time, the 8 pythons feel the killing intent gathering around us, and understand that a beast swarm is closing in, so they rally the rest of the group instantly, ordering the pack to encircle me, teeth bared, tongues flicking, ready for battle. Hold the line, they order. Any creature that dares disturb the king dies. Anyone who retreats dies. Keep the corpses intact, for when the king awakens. The swarm picks up the snake's aura and presses on, because they have come specifically to wipe out the blood pythons, and roars ripple out of every throat as the thousands of beasts charge the fewer than 300 snakes on the ground. The clash is tragic. A lion shreds a python barely 2 meters long. A python pinned under a boar's feet still refuses to quit and clamps the boar's snout with enough force to burst its face in blood. The 8 around me are a different story. Although they lack my poison fangs, their 3-stage evolution carries the infinite devouring, and every beast that gets close to them is swallowed alive at speed. Their bodies swung against any secondary attacker to fling them tens of meters through the air, at the cost of torn muscle and thick blood on their scales. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and nearly every ordinary blood python in the clearing has fallen, leaving only mangled fragments. Even the 8 are gravely wounded, while the swarm has lost numbers, but not momentum. Just as they prepare to end it, I finally open my eyes.